I just finished cooking Thanksgiving dinner. Yes, it's early, but I'd like to sleep in tomorrow. So I did most of my big items tonight. But I also wanted to be sure that I had a chance to talk to you guys because it is countdown time, hours before you sit down with your family. And for many of you, it is going to be the first conversation that you've had since the election of 2024. And so much has happened. The passing of the big beautiful bill. Yes, I called it the big beautiful bill because at your Republican table, I recommend that you call the bill by its name or just call it the big bill. But there is so much happening, and I'm going to tell you that you just sort of stay mute. You are going to be there to learn. You're going to be the most curious person in the room. Look, if you are with a family that says we don't talk about politics, but I got to tell you, this year at this moment, everything is politics. The cost of the dinner, the out-of-pocket cost for healthcare, Medicaid, that might cause the nice hospital in your neighborhood to close, family separation from the cruel immigration policies, jobs, education, absolutely everything that touches your life and the people that you love is political. But you don't start the conversation. You just say less and listen. You be really curious. If you're lucky and you got a bridge builder in your family, the person who says, hey, we're going to disagree at this table, but we're not going to dehumanize each other, that's fantastic. But if you don't and you're pulled inside of a conversation, I got to give you some tips because you know I am the show messenger from Network Nova. So here's the first thing. You can name the moral line without an apology. And this is where I love James Baldwin. He's an activist, he was a civil rights activist, he was an author and writer. He was fantastic. And here's what he would say. We can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. Today, we might say, hey, I can handle disagreement, but I cannot normalize someone's loss of rights. And that really sets the boundary without making the conflict go bigger. And then the next thing you can do is distinguish who they are from what they're supporting. And what that means is like, I'm not calling you a bigot, but what I am saying is that the policies that you support are bigot like. So you could say it better and you could say, I'm not trying to say you're hateful. I'm just saying that the policy that you support hurts real people. It's people that I love, people that I know, people in our own family. And I can't pretend that that doesn't hurt people. And then that really shifts it from identity to responsibility. And then there's more. There's the human stakes test that James Baldwin relied on. If your policies and the politics that you support cause someone else to disappear, then you've crossed from disagreement into hurting people. And you can say, you know, your vote is your choice, but the vote has consequences for people's safety. That policy restricts someone's right to exist, to love the way they love, to worship, to survive. And that's not a disagreement. That is hurting people. And you know, people understand that better than they do someone else's ideology. And then the next thing you can do is we talk about this all the time. Don't debate, but tell a story because facts tell, but stories feel. So let me tell you the moment that I realized that this wasn't politics to me. This is what you can say to someone, and then tell them a real story. And then you can say, hey, listen, this is not about being right. This is just about protecting people. And really, in that case, it's really hard for someone, if not impossible, for them to respond in a really horrible way when you told a story about someone's rights and how you feel about it at the table. You have to also set boundaries, and you really want to do them in love and not in punishment. You don't want to threaten your family members. You can say something like, I want to stay connected with you, but I'm just not going to pretend that taking away somebody's humanity is okay. We can keep talking, but I want you to honor people's right to exist. And that's setting boundaries. And then finally, at the end of the day, you have to decide what level of relationship is possible for you and what's healthy. And you know, this isn't new. This happened in the civil rights movement. It happened during Reconstruction. It happens all the time where family relationships come to, a moral crisis. But you have to protect your peace. And this is one of the hardest decisions you'll make. So it would be this. Is it safe? When someone's belief actively make you unsafe, denying your humanity, then you have to step back. And that's when Baldwin would say, "Hey, I love you, but we're not going to be able to do this." And then secondly, is the relationship manageable? Which means that you can stay together, but you just don't talk about certain things. And for people's family who's so important to them, that's important. We can't just ask you to step away. That's going to be your choice. So if it's manageable and you can protect yourself emotionally, you can make that choice. And then finally, is it repairable? I personally believe that family is our way back to our humanity. And so someone may have been watching a bunch of Fox News or reading a bunch of crazy things, but when they hear you talk about these things and they hear you be inquisitive, then they might feel differently and you can get them back. And so just imagine if only one family member comes back. Imagine that across the country. And that can be meaningful. So I hope that you got some benefit from some of the things that I've said here. And if you do, that's fantastic. Christmas is coming. Um, and good luck to you.